Once upon a time, there was a nation in Central Europe. It wasn't holy, it wasn't Roman, and it wasn't an empire. Can you guess what it was called? Wow, amazing! The Holy Roman Empire. The year was 1618. The mighty nation of the Holy Roman Empire was ruled by a very powerful and very inbred family called the Habsburgs. Since the Habsburgs had been in power for hundreds of years, they also ruled over other countries like Spain and Austria. After the Treaty of Augsburg in 1555, the Holy Roman Empire was physically divided into two groups, the Grand Catholic states and the dirty Lutheran states. While both Christian, they had some variation, and it was enough to divide the people. The Holy Catholic Church managed to stay together, as we always do, while the other Protestant churches failed to unite and many other churches rose. While the Treaty of Augsburg was meant to maintain peace between our two churches, the Protestants bit off a bit more that they can chew, classic Protestant move, and it resulted in a lot of different conflicts leading up to 1618. As a result, this man, Ferdinand II, demanded that all land was taken from the Catholic Church be restored, saying that he would rather see his lands destroyed than intolerate heresy. Ferdinand soon took control of the most prevalent Protestant stronghold, Styria, in 1595. He converted it to Catholic in just 18 months, and he became King of Bohemia, a territory of the Holy Roman Empire, in 1617. Ferdinand was a man on a mission, and his determination to restore Catholicism was almost as large as his chin. Unfortunately, however, he would be unsuccessful. In 1618, the Bohemian Revolt would start. It was an attempt to maintain Protestantism in the Holy Roman Empire. Eventually, after some amount of time had passed, the Catholic officials and the Protestant officials met up in a Bohemian castle, and they resolved their squabbles peacefully. And by peacefully, I mean they threw 3 Catholic officials out of the second-story window.
Dude, uncool.
Fortunately, all 3 survived, but the Catholic-ruled government in Bohemia was effectively replaced with a Protestant one. Many territories were unfortunately lost and turned Protestant, and unrest only grew from there. In 1619, Ferdinand was officially removed as the king by the new government of Bohemia, and Frederick V accepted the Bohemian Crown. Although not many were happy with this decision, removing a legally elected king, no matter the religion, was frowned upon. This event is what sparked the war. The conflict gave the Catholics an opportunity to retake their lost lands, and total war broke out from there. The Church was making solid progress for the first 10 years of war, taking all of the Protestant forces out of the Holy Roman Empire by 1625. However, the conflict was far from over, because Habsburg-ruled Spain was still at war with the Netherlands. It looked like the war would soon come to a head, but in 1625, the Danish declared war on Spain and, effectively, the Catholic Church. France was soon involved in the war as well, but only financially. After the Danish intervention, things were looking a bit grim for the Catholics. In 1629, the Catholic Church enforced an edict, which would force the Catholic Church to retake all territories taken from them by the Protestants before 1555. This gave the Catholic Church a huge amount of land. Endless battles continued up until Sweden invaded the mainland Holy Roman Empire, and one of the most famed Catholic generals was killed in the battles. The Swedish army was an insanely powerful force at the time, and this ended up setting back the Catholic Church by a lot. But don't you worry, it's not over yet. The tide soon turned, and sometime later most of the higher-ups in the Swedish army were killed. In 1634, the Catholic Church effectively obliterated the Swedish army and continued fighting their way back. The French and the Swedes were very, very close at this time, so when the French saw that the Swedes had been decimated, they declared war on Spain and the Catholic Holy Roman Empire. France was a Catholic state at the time, so their intervention in the war made it so that the war was no longer about Catholic versus Protestant, and more so a financial conflict. This makes the war a lot more complicated, but all you need to know is that France is a dirty, traitorous state, and you should never trust a Frenchman with anything ever. Back to the conflict. Spain took heavy casualties from the French, and in 1639, the French invaded the Holy Roman Empire. As the years went by, the French devastated more and more areas in the Holy Roman Empire, and the death toll just kept growing. In 1645, the war flipped once more, and troops from the HRE were able to drive out the French. The war once again flipped back and forth between the French and the Holy Roman Empire until the Peace of Westphalia in 1648, which would put an end to the exhausting conflict. All in all, the HRE suffered major damages, and Europe as a whole was damaged for decades. The Catholic Church suffered a loss of territory after the war, but they remained strong. The Church, while wounded, still stayed relatively powerful in the area and would make a lasting impact on the rest of the world. The 30 Years' War was one of the bloodiest conflicts in European history. It saw the rise of Sweden and France as national powers in Europe, while the HRE and Denmark faded away. Most importantly, however, the Catholic Church was wounded. While it would eventually come back, the 30 Years' War saw one of the most significant losses to the Catholic Church in history.